I'm Mark Crumpton. This
All right,
is
welcome to today's recap, and it's
Let's get a
Monday.
recap of today's
So
market
welcome
action.
to Monday's
Little
recap.
change here
Just
to
turn off
slate.
my Bloomberg here for a second, and pretty quiet day, I would say, for the indices. Kind of felt a little bit like Friday in terms of the price action of the indices. Not much really going on here. You could see very tight range from open to close. Let's see what that looks like on SPY. A little bit better in terms of range, but of course, the S&P futures are going to be a little bit different than that. But it looks like a huge candle, but 10 basis points just shows how light we've been moving in. I just can't believe that 10 basis, or the range, I guess, is bigger from where we opened. We were up 9 basis points, but from the open, I guess that makes sense considering we started the day down about 20 basis points. And I think that's the case. If you look at IWM, I think a lot of people are looking for IWM to break down here. I don't know. I don't. I would say let this 50-day moving average. This is non-dividend adjusted, but we're right at the 50-day moving average. I had this in my newsletter this weekend. No predictions for me. Just want to see what happens if we start to break a little bit further below where we were this morning in IWM. Sure, I think we can roll over, but I don't know if you can call that yet. I was on a panel earlier, and everybody was saying, I'm shorting IWM, I'm shorting IWM, and I'm like, I'm watching it. I'll wait until I really see a signal. It does look weak here, but I don't know. I guess you could play for a move down here, which is what I talked about in this weekend's newsletter. But I have my eye on it. But it's not really moving. So maybe somebody's crystal ball may be a little bit more clear than mine. But it did come back. You could see a green bar for the day because we did start down about 40 or 50 basis points in IWM small caps, but we're holding in there. And actually, the biggest components of IWM, which is banks, actually had a positive day today. The regional banks had a big green candle right on that 200-day moving average, non-dividend adjusted. So, kind of interesting. That was actually quietly the best performer today. That kind of snuck up on me. I am long a little bit of banks, but not regional banks. I'm long a little bit of Citi. Let's see, did Citi come back at the end of the day? Citi did come back a little bit at the end of the day. Morgan Stanley a little bit, but it looks like the move was made mainly in the smaller banks. TLT, if you look at the long bond, was actually finished down, so that could have aided into that. Remember Friday we had a big down day in the bonds. I also heard, a lot of people are looking to short bonds. I'll wait till it breaks the 200-day moving average. So, I think a lot of people are like really looking at these trades and maybe taking them without any signals yet, other than prediction, which is fine. You can make predictions and put a little bit of skin in the game here, but I would want to see price. I mean, price is the most important thing to me. So until this breaks the 200-day moving average, I think it's just a chop. It's a chop fest. But I look at it every day. I heard somebody going long gold today. But I think Bridgewater actually made a stake in GLD today. But again, it's not showing me anything other than chop. So maybe if we get back above the 50-day moving average, it just seems like a lot of wasted money to try to play these without any real signal. I know a lot of people are going on their gut or the crystal ball, but I'll sit and wait. Gold and bonds, they're going to reveal themselves. You're going to see the price move. So I think there's for me anyway, there's no reason to really take a trade here until we see something, until we start to see a trend develop. And I think a lot of people have tried that, and they've been whipsawed all year long in bonds and in gold. So I'll just sit on my hands and wait for a signal. The defensives also acted pretty well today. XLU, new 52-week high today. We did see a little bit of call buying in names like NRG, which is also at a 52-week high, and AES. So a couple names there. Consumer staples also continued to move higher here. Nice, 3 or 4 days of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I guess a week of regaining some levels. I think here is going to be a test. It looks like it kind of failed right at that white line today, but we'll see. Keep an eye on that group, consumer staples. I keep looking for some aggressive call buying. I'm just not seeing it. I would have. I said a couple days ago, hey, if I see something in consumer staples, I think it was on a lot of people's radar. Maybe I just missed it. But the beverages have been acting very well. But yeah, no major trades for me in this group right now. So what did I trade today? Or let's go through, I guess, the other underperformers. Underperformers was energy, which was the best performing group last week. Gave some back today. XOP down 1.7%. Biotech continues to get smashed almost every day, down 1.3%. It's gonna at some point get to the point where it's going to frustrate the hell out of so many people that it's going to be a buying opportunity, but I don't know if we're there yet. But down another 1.3%, never even came back at all, even though some other things like small caps and banks responded pretty well. Nothing out of biotech. Retail also finished down. The XRT ETF that also finished down. Other things like materials did pretty well today. XLB. Nice bar actually for the XLB ETF. So let me go through today's option activity. I'll talk about what I traded today. Today was a pretty light trading day for me. I had a really good week last week. So, sometimes Mondays are best to kind of see what kind of signals we get and kind of sit back a little bit, see what we think for the week. So I think I did a lot of that. I think there was some decent trade signals. Where do I want to start with? I'll start with Netflix. Netflix, we saw some late call buying in the day, and I had mentioned this one I think in the video at the end of the day. So keep an eye on Netflix on Monday morning. I think probably the best performer out of the FANG stocks. Just real nice performance. And again, Netflix. Here were the signals which I had showed in Friday's video, but there was 15. I mean, these are sweep opening trades. January 200 calls. Look at the price of this and the amount of money, $700,000. Another one was a $500,000 trade. These went up within 5 minutes of one another. So we played Netflix on Friday too. Made a little bit of money on some lottos and Netflix when those trades hit. But that was a great signal, and I mentioned it pre-market in Netflix. I think Tesla was another good one. Elon's tweet this morning was it either this morning or last night was a catalyst. It usually does. This is what Tesla moves on. Tesla moves on expectations of really cool things. So up 4% today, and a nice clawback for that name. So a little bit about today's option activity. Where to kind of start. We'll start with the Chinese internets, which also performed very well today. I forgot about them. They were up 1.3%. JD was the first thing that went, but it actually gave back some of the gains. But if you kind of look at some of the other names in the group, Wuba was up 6%. WB was up 3.25%. BZUN, Baozun, which I'm probably mispronouncing because I mispronounce everything, up 5.4%. This is one name that I'm long. We did see some call buying in this one. We also saw some call buying in Beta. If these things are too risky to you, this was up 3.5%. If they're too risky to you, I talked about this like on the panel that I was on today. The KWeb ETF, something I've been talking about all year long. One of the best performing ETFs, up I think 67% year to date. This is a way to kind of play this group without having to deal with earnings, which a few of those names that I mentioned have earnings in the next couple weeks. This is a great way to kind of get access to the group without dealing with the individual risk. Because again, those names are very, very volatile. This ETF is very volatile too. But you could own the whole group and still get the volatility if you're looking for that. All right, so strong group today, up 1.4%. Looks like it might be poised. Let's see if it could take out 59.32. That's your November resistance. And I think if we get above that, we could take out the highs and make a new 52-week high. It's done that several times, just over and over and over this year. Every time this thing has dipped. This is the first time it dipped below the 50-day moving average in a while, but it reclaimed it very quickly. Other names we saw call activity. GM, which I pointed out on Friday. So a couple of names have nice follow through activity. We talked about there was a nice dip buyer into support in GM. Nice day, up 2%. We talked about UPS also on Friday. Nice engulfing candle on Friday. There was call activity on Friday. Talked about it in the video. And a nice follow through day today. It was added to the conviction list at Goldman, also rated a buy along with FedEx. Out of all the transports, Goldman re-rated the whole group or initiated on the whole group. They like UPS and they like FedEx. That also saw repeat activity. Excuse me, GM saw repeat activity. Oh, almost choked there for a minute. When, just like we saw on Friday, right in the morning, call buyer right around the open. Another name, and this is the beauty of kind of what we do at Tribeca Trade Group. We actually have been looking at some of these names. My colleague Pat, mentioned CC. He said he was looking at CC before the calls actually went up. So it's really nice when you do the preparation and do the research, and then when a call buyer comes in, you're like, oh, I know this name. I've been watching it. So sometimes that's your catalyst. You can say, hey, I like the setup. I like the fact that this has been a strong name into a dip, up 3.7% today. Great call out today, Pat, in the trading room. Again, before the option activity. We did that in EWZ today, too. EWZ saw this was one of my only two trades of the day. EWZ, in terms of swing trades, EWZ is the Brazil ETF, and I had tweeted this out. You can look at my Twitter page on Sunday night. I had sent this out saying, hey, what a move all the way into the 200-day moving average, uptrend for Brazil. It's kind of been back and forth. It's been a little bit of, there has been some volatility in the Brazil ETF. Brazil really moves on the political headlines. And, it's been on a nice run since it reclaimed the 200-day moving average at 36 up to 43, but stalled out. So kind of like a double top and a move all the way down to the 200-day moving average, and then call buyers come in. So I took this trade. I didn't buy the weekly calls, which is what we saw. I went out a little bit further. I think I went out to some January calls in the Brazil ETF. So where do I know this trade's not going to work? Right on the 200-day moving average. That's a very easy setup, in my opinion. You just have to be disciplined. If it breaks, get out. So we saw that one, and there's another one that I wanted to go over as well. But again, this is one of those things that we're prepared. We don't have to kind of look at the charts when the trade goes up. I'm already familiar with it. Autodesk reports earnings next week, I believe. I structured a trade. This was an upgrade. So it's kind of the same thing, like with option activity and with when broker dealers upgrade stocks. Sometimes it just stops and make you look at the chart. And Autodesk, which has been a real nice name on option activity this year, there is no option activity, but I structured a trade for a move into earnings, which is on 11/24. So I bought a call spread that expires on 11. Excuse me, the earnings are 11/28. The call spread expires that I put on 11/24. So we're off to a nice start. I put on a call spread for $1, took a target at $1.30. That's a nice profit of 30% on the day. And a nice move. It took a little while because the market was a little weak right off the bat, and Autodesk did not respond at all to that upgrade by Guggenheim. So it was a real nice opportunity. Sometimes the names fly right off the bat on an upgrade. Sometimes they don't do anything, and it takes a little while. So this was a real nice trade. A couple other trades that we saw at the end of the day. I don't really know what they were doing here with GBT. This has been a nice name on option activity. This is a small cap biotech name that I own. It looks like they purchased some of the. This is against open interest, so I'll have to check open interest tomorrow. But GBT, very expensive calls. I mean, the implied volatility is super, super high. It's 100%. So the 40 straight calls in this name, and I know I believe it has some data that's coming out. I think at that ASH conference. So maybe somebody's looking for a run up into that conference. This is where we got to before. Try to break out. Just kind of came back in and retest this previous level. Could be an interesting name here. So again, 40 straight calls, which is just $1 above, costs $9. So could be a name that you play in stock rather than dealing with 100 implied volatility. So that's it for today's recap. There's some other names on here too, but I think that's enough for today. Oh, last one was Square. Square has come in. They keep coming in over and over and over since this name reported earnings, and since it's slightly dipped on earnings, they've just been coming after this name every day since in Square. I mean, look at this thing up to $40. So hit a 40 handle high today. Closed a little bit off there, but man, they just keep coming into Square. Here's all the activity just so you can see. You can see 3 times the usual volume, but I think these puts may have been sold. This was one of the orders here. The 40.5 calls, the March 36 calls, the November 40 calls, the December 45 calls swept. So just over and over and over in Square. All right, so that's today's video. Thanks for watching and have a great night.